Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Vick, Work, Winder, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Cameron, Durst, Fulcher, Keogh, Lodge, McKenzie, Nuxel, Schmidt, Sidaway, Thane, Winder,
Senator Schmidt and Senator Lodge can be added to the roll call. And Senator Hagedorn, and Senator Bayer, and Senator Cameron. Roll call shows 31 present, 4 absent, excused. Quorum being present, Senate is in order. Senate will advance second order of business. Prayer by Chaplain James Weberding and Pledge of Allegiance. We'd ask our friends in the gallery to rise and join us in prayer.
Let us pray. God in heaven, Scripture calls you the Almighty God, or El Shaddai. As human beings endeavor things bigger than themselves, it is steadying to know that you are almighty, that you who extend your hands to hold the worlds also extend the efforts of the Senate beyond their capacity to do good. Please bless their efforts today as they wrestle once again this week with complex matters. Please encourage them with the thought that your strength backs up their best efforts. Thank you for hearing my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our page, Megan Johnson. Megan.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to advancing, Senator Thane will be recorded present, as will Senator Brackett at this order of business. Senate will advance third order of business, reading corrections journal.
March 11th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that the Senate Journal of the proceedings of March 8th, 2013 was read and approved as corrected. Lodge, Chairman.
The report will be filed in the Office of Secretary. Senator Davis.
Mr. President.
You have the floor.
Mr. President, Senators, I want to give you a roadmap on where we're heading today. It is our intention to work our way administratively through the various orders of business and go straight to the 10th order of business. The two concurrent resolutions in the 10th order of business, it is our intent to go there and consider those resolutions. Once we're complete with our work in the 10th, we will go to the first and second reading calendar. We will initially skip over the 13th order of business and go straight to the amending order and consider the legislation in that order of business and those amendments. It is also my intent at some point before adjournment today to advance the amendments to that legislation and get it to first reading and read for the first time those amended bills in the event that you are inclined to amend it. Once we have finished our work in the amending order, we will return to the 13th order of business, third reading calendar. When we are in the 13th order of business, I will be reordering 2 bills that are in that order of business. And so I want you to be aware of that now in your preparation. The last 2 bills in the 13th order of business, House Bill 117 and 118, at the request of the sponsors, I will be reversing the order of those bills so that we will pick up House Bill 118 first and then followed by House Bill 117. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 6th order of business.
Without objection, Senate advances 6th order of business reports to Standing Committee. Senator Nuxel will be recorded present at this order of business prior to advancing.
March 11, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that Senate Bill 1152, 1153, 1154, 1155, 1156, 1157, and Senate Concurrent Resolution 123 have been correctly printed. Lodge Chairman.
Senate Bills 1152, 1153, and 1154 will be referred to the Finance Committee. Senate Bills 1155, 1156, 1157 will be referred to the Resources and Environment Committee, and Senate Concurrent Resolution 123 will be referred to the 10th Order of Business and held for one legislative day.
March 8, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that enrolled Senate Concurrent Resolution 104 was delivered to the Office of the Secretary of State at 10:46 a.m. March 8, 2013. Lodge Chairman.
Report will be filed in the Office of the Secretary.
March 8, 2013, the State Affairs Committee reports out House Bill 55 and recommend that it do pass. McKenzie, Chairman.
House Bill 55 will be referred to the 12th Order of Business, second reading.
March 8, 2013, the Finance Committee reports out House Bill 251, 253, and House Bill 255 and recommend that they do pass. Cameron, Chairman.
Senator Key will be recognized present at this order of business. House Bills 251, 253, and 255 will be referred to the 12th Order of Business, second reading.
There is no further business in the 6th order, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 8th order of business.
Without objection, the Senate will advance to the 8th Order of Business. Messages from the Governor. Senate's at the 8th Order of Business.
March 8, 2013, the Honorable Brad Little, President of the Senate. Dear Mr. President, I have the honor to advise you that I have signed today and am transmitting to the Secretary of State the following Senate bills to wit. Senate Bill 1044, As Always Idaho, C.L. Butch Otter, Governor of Idaho.
Report will be filed in the Office of the Secretary.
Just
go ahead.
There is no further business in the 8th order, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 10th order of business.
Without objection, Senate advance 10th Order of Business. Senate's at the 10th Order of Business. Motions and resolution has for final consideration.
President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent. Senate Goody's cup to call the chair.
Without objection, Senate be at ease.
Mr. President, Senators, while we're at ease, it is my pleasure to introduce to you people who mean a great deal to me and my family, and frankly also Senator Mortimer. We are joined in the gallery by a group of individuals that are part of the same study group in Idaho Falls. At least that's the term of art that I hear. I don't know what the right term is. For some of you, you might think of it in terms of a Bible study group, though their interests are substantially more diverse than that. Each of them are significant and prominent people in our community and, frankly, in my life. These are good people, many names you will or should recognize. And to Senator Buckner Webb, who I might add, Mother, just this year was recognized, Senator Buckner Webb was, as the Idaho Mother of the Year. I wish I could walk you through each of their bio, but in addition, one of the people I'll be introducing to you was a National Mother of the Year during the Bush administration. And I know that all of them are remarkable people. First, let me introduce to you my own parents. If they would stand as I read your names: Harold Davis and Enid Davis. Additionally, we are joined by Dr. Kim Johnson and his wife, Sharon, and I saw them in the back, as well as two of their sons, one of whom is more my age, and that is Orson Johnson, and we've known each other since we were kids, and then another, Dwight Johnson, who you all know because he comes and pesters us all the time to do the wishes of the Department of Labor. We are also joined by Lynn and Janine Mickelson, who have recently returned to Idaho Falls after serving my church in very prominent and significant ways. Also, we are joined by Kathy Stanger, who, if you read the Idaho Falls Post-Register, she is prolific in her expressions, including encouraging my community to have a civil public discourse. We are also joined by Reed and Elizabeth Moss. Reed is a prominent attorney in Idaho Falls, and Elizabeth and her daughters have remarkable, gifted musical talents, as do others, and I apologize for not pausing on that. I own some of their CDs and have them on my iPod, or now it's all on my iPhone. Reed was a law partner to Sheila Olson's, or with Sheila Olson's husband for many years. Also, we are joined by Sheila Olson, who, if you'll just wave, Sheila, as if everybody doesn't already know who you are. She, of course, we will be considering her additional renomination to the Idaho Human Rights Commission here in a day or two. And her family has had a great influence over in the Davis family for many years, including taking this young boy skiing occasionally at Sun Valley with my Cubco bindings and my blue 501 Levi's that left big, long blue streaks up and down the ski hill. We're also joined by Roger and Laura Jo DeMordaunt. Their son, that name might sound familiar to you. Their son is a member in the body across the rotunda and serves as the chairman of the House Education Committee. I don't think I missed anybody, and if I did, I apologize. They will be here throughout the day and keeping an eye on me. But please make them feel welcome now and throughout the day.
You failed to mention that Senator Davis once represented your district here and did a very capable job of serving the people of that district.
Mr. President,
Senator Hill.
First of all, I'd like to thank those who are here to keep an eye on Senator Davis. We would appreciate you coming anytime you would like. It must be Parents' Day. We have another parent, I think, in the gallery behind us here. Our Senate chaplain, his mother is here. Mrs. Rhonda Wibberding. She's here visiting from the state of Washington. We're glad to have her here. Please make her feel welcome as well.
Mr. President.
Senator Bayer.
Mr. President, for a point of personal privilege.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators. I'm proud to have the opportunity to introduce my folks today. This is exciting. I've had the opportunity in the past in the body across the rotunda and have a few colleagues there that served with my father in the mid-'80s in the House, and now I have the opportunity to introduce them here. A big influence on me, and in the mid-'80s I was actually fortunate enough to have the experience to be sworn in and substitute when my father had some legislative business during session, and I still have that certificate down in my office. Very proud of that. And kind of set the course. That was back in the days when actually I took a little bit of issue with legislative session because our pool table / ping pong table would always be out of commission during session because it was full of all the bill books all laid out, and so we didn't get to play for 3 months because Dad was poring over those all hours of the day and night. And so anyway, I've shown him a little bit in recent years as to how we are able to conduct business these days and the pros and cons of what that provides and how that draws comparison. Anyway, in the gallery we have, if my folks would please stand, the Honorable Dieter and Regina Bayer. They still stay in track. They contact me chronically. They watch the audio video and they let me know what I'm doing wrong, and then I defend my colleagues' votes to them that they often question. No names need be mentioned. If you would please join me in welcoming them to the Senate, very much appreciate it. Thank you.
So we'll come to order. Since the 10th order of business has for final consideration Senate Concurrent Resolution 121, the Secretary will read the resolution.
Number 121 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and rejecting a certain rule docket of the Bureau of Occupational Licenses.
Mr. President,
Senator Patrick.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Concurrent Resolution 121 be dispensed with and the journal show has been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, Senate Concurrent Resolution...
I need a motion to adopt the resolution, Senator. You would be the maker of that motion. You can make
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm out of order. Mr. President, I move the adoption of Senate Concurrent Resolution 121.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. Senate adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution number 121. Senator Patrick is recognized to open debate on the resolution.
Thank you. I do get ahead of myself now and then. Concurrent Resolution 121 deals with the Idaho Driving Business Licensure Board. And there were some rules proposed in docket 24-2501-1201 that the committee did not feel it followed the intent of the legislature. And it was dealing with remote locations and the amount of time at those remote locations. And with that, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Patrick is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, so the Senate adopts Senate Concurrent Resolution number 121. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The concurrent resolution has been passed. The correction of title, hearing none, title is approved. Senate Concurrent Resolution 121 will be transmitted to the House, Senate House for final consideration. Senate Concurrent Resolution number 122. The Secretary will read the resolution.
In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution number 122 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and rejecting certain rules of the Bureau of Occupational Licenses.
Mr. President.
Senator Patrick.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Concurrent Resolution 122 be dispensed with and journal show has been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator Patrick.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of Senate Concurrent Resolution 122.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Moved and seconded that the Senate adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution 122. Senator Patrick is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Concurrent Resolution 122 is dealing with the Bureau of Occupational Licensing rules of the Board of Architectural Examiners. And with this rule, we held it for a while and listened to different parties with some issues in that rule. And it was decided in the end that we would reject section pending Rule 550.103 and in whole, and also we would reject the codified rule of 550.04, thereby eliminating the subsection entirety from the rules of the Board of Architectural Examiners. With that, debate is open.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Patrick is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, so the Senate adopts Senate Concurrent Resolution 122. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Senate Concurrent Resolution 122 is passed the Senate. Of the correction title, hearing none, title is approved. Senate Concurrent Resolution 122 will be transmitted to the House. There is no further business in the 10th order, Mr. President. Senate advance to the 11th order of business. Senate's at the 11th order of business. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be read by number, author, and title only. Journal show they've been read at length.
Without objection, so ordered.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1158 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to Social Security benefits to provide that Social Security benefits extend to police officers and firefighters.
Senate concurrent or Senate Bill 1158 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing.
There is no further business in the 11th order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance 12th order of business. Second reading bill. Senate's at the 12th order of business. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the bills on second reading be read by number and author only, and the journal show they've been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 188 by Health and Welfare Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 211 by Health and Welfare Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 140 by Revenue and Taxation Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 107 by State Affairs Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 161 by State Affairs Committee. In the House of Representatives, House Bill number 181 by State Affairs Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1105 by State Affairs Committee. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1112 by State Affairs Committee.
House Bills 188, 211, 140, 107, 161, 181, and Senate Bills 1105 and 1112 will all be referred to the 13th order of business, third reading.
There is no further business in the 12th order, Mr. President.
Senate advance 13th order of business. Senate's at the 13th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the bills in the 13th order of business be reordered as follows. Keeping the orders of the bills in this order of business as they currently lie, excepting that House Bill 118 now precede House Bill 117.
Hearing no objection, calendar will be so reordered. Senate's the 13th order of business. Senator Davis. Senator has for final.
Mr. President,
Senator Davis.
Ask unanimous consent in advance of the 14th order of business resolve itself into the committee of the whole, and that the senator from 20, Senator Winder, be appointed to take the chair.
Without objection, Senate advance 14th order of business. Senate's at the 14th order of business. The Senate will be at ease, subject to call of the chair. It is hot. You're right. It is hot.
Well, the cookie vote passed. Could be nice. Why could you vote no if those are the kids there?
There was 2 for 11:53. I gave it to you. Yep. They're not competing.
Well, we haven't seen it there, right? At least I haven't, so she'll go see it.
Because we had the page taken up last Thursday at the same time. People thought.
That's the only one I've ever seen.
Unless you thought they were redundant.
No, I didn't do that.
You can declare
Right.
that.
Because they were. And this is the one that was the most important. The other one's for superintendents, but
So this one's the most important one?
as far as I'm concerned, but they're both important. But this is right.
Good. Yeah, I just assume you never change the clock.
Yeah, I know.
I see no benefit.
I wish it was daylight savings year and then jump another hour. But my wife is nullify each other's votes.
So if that happened,
Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
Sorry.
Senators, just a quick announcement while we're at ease. Today is Pacific Institute's forum at luncheon downstairs on the first floor rotunda. Pacific Institute is those that are aligned with the Turkish government, and I encourage you all to come, enjoy some good company, and hopefully not talk about patent infringement. But join us to talk with the Turks today at 12:30 on the first floor.
Committee of the whole Senate will come to order, and the Secretary will read the list of bills before the committee.
Senate Bill 1118 with no amendments. Senate Bill 1114 with one amendment. Senate Bill 1133 with 3 amendments. Senate Bill 1138 with 1 amendment. Senate Bill 1106 with 2 amendments. House Bill 142 with 1 amendment.
Committee of the whole will now refer to consideration Senate Bill 1114. There be no objection. The bill will be considered read in full. Be no objection. Amendment to Section 3 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 3 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendments to Senate Bill 1114 are really the result of an effort to build some consensus and get some input from several of my fellow senators. also along with the concurrence of the Department of Health and Welfare. The First Amendment to Section 3 essentially inserts language that recognizes the importance of the role of families in the treatment of substance abuse and mental health. And with that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 3 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 3 is adopted. Now, under consideration, amendment to Section 7. There be no objection, will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 7 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, same debate as far as the process on what got us here. The language itself essentially takes out the language that would refer to this bill as more of an entitlement. Rather, this recognizes the need of these individuals for this kind of service versus the right. And then also inserts the language recognizing that these services are provided within budgetary confines. And with that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Getting my exercise this morning. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 7 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 7 is adopted. We'll now have into consideration amendment to Section 8. There be no objection, will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 9 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment recognizes the importance of family choice, or excuse me, patient choice and family involvement in this process again as well. And with that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 9 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 9 is adopted. Being no objection, amendment to Section 11 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 11 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, same background as far as the what brought us to this point. This language recognizes that the board that's formed under this piece of legislation, which involves a number of players in the community and in the mental health and substance abuse treatment sector, that these boards have no taxing authority. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 11 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 11 is adopted. We'll now have under consideration amendment to Section 13. Being no objection, it will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 13 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This section or this amendment recognizes that these boards that are formed under this legislation are subject to the open meeting laws contained in Chapter 23, Title 67 of Idaho Code. And with that, debate is closed, or excuse me, open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 13 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 13 is adopted. Now, for consideration, amendment to Section 14. There be no objection. Amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lakey, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 14 be adopted.
Senator Lakey is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is another clarification in the bill that the board is subject to the open meeting laws. And with that, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lakey is recognized to close debate on Section 14.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 14 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 14 is adopted. We'll now have into consideration amendment to Section 15. Being no objection, will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Leahy, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 15 be adopted.
Senator Leahy is recognized to open debate.
Mr. Chairman, this is simply a technical correction from the Department of Health and Welfare. The reference to Code Section 393129 is incorrect, and this corrects that. With that, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator Leahy is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 15 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 15 is adopted. No objection, correction, title be considered read.
Moved by Senator Leahy, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Correction title is adopted. Senator Fulcher.
Without recommendation. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now have to consideration Senate Bill 1133. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. There be no objection. Amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, seconded by Senator Buckner-Webb, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of the amendment to Section 1 on Senate Bill 1133. Senators, this change is pretty simple. As you're aware, the bill itself is intending to have school boards or have school districts create safety plans for their districts, which I think is an important thing to do. But I think the author of the legislation inadvertently or potentially intentionally, but with the same impact, left out probably the most critical component to any safety plan, which is the teacher that's going to be asked to actually implement the safety plan. It's my opinion that if we don't include a member of the Education Association or their representative in this process, it will open itself up to considerable problems. First and foremost is that as contracts are negotiated in the districts, it can be assumed that part of that contract will be the safety plan. And if a Teachers Association representative isn't a part of the original discussion on that safety plan, what will they do? They'll say, here's the safety plan, now what do you think? They'll say, well, what if the teacher says we don't like it? We don't think this is a good idea. We as the teachers, or you're asking to implement this, don't agree. Well, then they have to go back to the drawing board. And so I would say this is not a hostile amendment at all. This is simply trying to make sure that the teachers that are going to be asked to implement the plan have a say from the beginning on what that safety plan looks like so they can explain it to their membership, who will then be asked to implement the plan once it's adopted in the master contract. I think this is an important change to make. It doesn't do anything to change the purpose of the bill. It simply strengthens the legislation so that it makes it better. It makes it more logistically possible to implement going forward. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Mr. Chairman.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, for clarification, please.
Senator Mortimer.
Mr. Chairman, I have two amendments to Section 1, line 18, and I'm trying to decide which we're talking about. One says the district superintendent or the superintendent's designee.
Senator Mortimer. The debate centered on the local education association or their representative. So we are debating, if you look at the top of it, Amendment 2. So it would be 22067A2. The other one will be taken up separately.
Mr. Chairman, just for my knowledge,
Committee of the Whole, go at east and call the chair.
Thank you.
We're talking about the IEA.
So they're having another meeting tonight.
Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live.
Ready? Committee of the whole Senate will come back to order. We've been discussing the issue that was raised, and we do believe that there is a conflict in the way the two have been drafted, that we can't use the first one to amend the second one or vice versa. So I'm going to declare they are in conflict. We're going to debate the A2. We'll close debate on that. We will not take a vote at that point. We'll debate A3. We'll close debate. And then it's my intent to vote on A1 in that order, and then A3. Debate was open on amendment to Section 1.
Mr. Chairman, for point of clarification, you said that we were going to vote on, I think you said A1 first. I assume you meant A2, but if they're in conflict, if one passes, then is the other one automatically dead if they're in conflict?
Yes, okay. Senator, and if I said A1, I apologize for that. I meant A2.
Thank you,
Mr. Would be the
Mr.
order of vote. Okay. And just for clarification, did you close opening debate as I believe you did? Is there debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To debate in opposition, the 1133, Senate Bill 1133, was designed by the stakeholders, Department of Education, law enforcement, the gentleman on the second floor, and a number of other folks. And the objective was to have a minimal number of what I like to refer to as a throat to grab if something goes wrong. And that throat should be an elected official, and that's why we selected the chief law enforcement officer of every county, who is an elected sheriff, and the board of trustees, who are also elected, where the public has ample opportunity, including those folks that have been designated on this hostile amendment, to come in and have input on the security plans. I believe that currently the folks on this amendment don't necessarily formulate the fire plan. We do not, in the bill right now, have fire or ambulance forces that we designate to be members of the committee to create the security plan. We don't have the administration or the services of the schools on a security plan, because all of those folks basically work for either law enforcement or for the school board. The school board are the folks that set up the management of how a school should operate. Everyone else within that organization reacts to that management authority and manages appropriately. We did not select to have the PTA or other parent organizations because they, as the IEA here or the local education association or their representative, can also attend all of the public meetings. Both bodies that are in the bill today are elected officials, the local sheriff, and the local school board. If something goes awry, or if a parent has a concern, or an education official has a concern, those are one of the two throats that they can go after and grab and say, why did we do this, or why did we not do this? The more folks you add to the committee, you end up creating something that might not possibly be what the people that are in charge of education and security might not agree to have those things changed. And those are the ones that we're going to hold accountable. So because the folks that are identified in this hostile amendment are not elected officials, were not able to hold accountable by the citizenry of either the school board or of the county, I would urge your vote against this amendment. Thank you.
So opportunity for one more debate in opposition. Again, the time limit is 3 minutes. And I do keep track.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rice.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate, it's my experience, having been on a policy committee for a number of years in my school district, that the Board of Trustees in these kinds of things does seek input from teachers, from administrators, from the superintendent. What this bill does is sets that we will have the sheriff working with the school board to make this happen in a way that works the best. Our sheriffs have the experience in security and safety, public safety, that we need as part of this. The other people are all already at the table, and I don't think the amendment's necessary, and I think it's ill-advised.
Senator Durst recognized. Closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just point out a couple of what I see as inaccuracies in the debate in opposition. Number one, the bill as it's currently written doesn't contemplate the negotiation process that occurs in every district throughout the state when master contracts are negotiated. It doesn't contemplate that process. And because it doesn't contemplate that process, I think it, to its own detriment, forgets those that are going to be expected to implement this policy, which are the teachers. So if we leave the teachers out on this process, we're going to be creating a safety plan that doesn't work. We talk about throats on the line. The last time I checked, of all the school shootings we've had in the United States, never once has a school board member or the local sheriff been getting shot at. It's been the teacher that's been getting shot at and his or her students. It is utmost importance, if we actually really care about safety in our school districts, that we make sure that the teachers and their representatives have a say on how this bill is crafted, because they know what the potential vulnerabilities are in their classroom. The school board member doesn't know. When you get into a large district, they haven't even been to probably 95% of the classes in their district. The sheriff doesn't know. He hasn't been to 95% of the classrooms in that district, but you know who does know? The teachers do. And why do the teachers do it? Because they are there every single day, and they know where that intruder may come in. They know what's happening in the students in their classroom. If they're left out of this process, we are making our state less safe, and we're opening ourselves up for more vulnerabilities. I'd encourage you to support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman.
Debate is closed on amendment to Section 1, which is 22067A2. We'll now have under consideration amendment to Section 1, which is RS 22067A3. As I stated earlier, I do consider it in conflict, and Senator Durst is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. It feels like deja vu all over again. I felt like I was just debating in favor of an amendment. Senators, it wasn't my intent to have these.
Hold on just a minute, procedurally. All right. Hang on one second.
Moved by Senator Durst, seconded by Senator Buckner-Webb, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Deja vu for the second time. Mr. President, Senators, Mr. Chairman, Senators, it wasn't my intent to have these two conflict. It was ruled that they do, and so we'll work with it for what we have. The reason that we brought the amendment for the superintendent or his or her designee is because it was felt that given as the head director, the CEO of that organization, which is the school district, that he or she should have the authority to sit on a plan so that he or she could explain it to the rest of his or her subordinates. It seems bizarre to me to have any kind of major decision, policy decision being made without consideration for the CEO of an organization not being included. That just doesn't make sense to me, and I can't think of any other organization in the world where that would happen, but yet we're wanting to make that the case in Idaho for our safety plans and make our students less safe. This is not a hostile amendment. This is an amendment trying to improve this legislation from its current state into a better state. I urge your support of this amendment.
Debate is open. Is there debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate in opposition. First, I would like to point out again the folks that we have on the bill currently that are held responsible and accountable for developing a security plan are the local sheriffs and the Board of Trustees. All of those are elected. The Board of Trustees' core competency is the education process and management thereof. The sheriff's core competencies is personal security and security of the citizenry. Bringing those two bodies together is the appropriate way to bring a balance to what the security plan needs to be within a school. There is nothing within Senate Bill 1133 that precludes the superintendent, that precludes any teacher or educational association from having input to what those plans are. But the throats that we reach out to as parents and as citizens will be the sheriff and will be the Board of Trustees. Having been a CEO and having also been on a Board of Directors, the Board of Directors sets the process of an organization, and the CEO's job is to carry that process out. But the CEO still has input. But at the end of the day, it's the Board of Directors that directs the CEO what to do. These two organizations, law enforcement and the department or the Board of Trustees, are the correct organizations to put together to manage and oversee what this plan should be. So I would urge your vote against this hostile amendment. Thank you.
Is there further debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Durst recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple points of clarification. Number one, most of the boards that I know of in private sector, the CEO is a member of the board, and it's generally the chairman of the board in most cases. So not having the superintendent on this is telling us we're going to run a meeting without our chairman. That doesn't make any sense to me. Number two, the senator from 14 keeps referring to accountability. Nothing in Section 1 that I see, or Section 2, refers to the issue of accountability. What it talks about is actually developing a plan. So the issue of accountability is curious to me. When the legislation doesn't talk about this, it doesn't say these were the groups that will be held accountable. It says these are the groups that are going to create the plan. Well, if we're talking about creating the plan, or if we're talking about creating accountability, those are two separate issues. I'm not debating whether or not the school board trustees and the sheriff should be held accountable. I agree with that. What I'm talking about is who should be at the table helping negotiate and make those decisions. In those cases, I think the CEO of the school board, of the school district, which is the superintendent, should have a say, and I think the teachers should have a say. And Mr. Chairman, these aren't hostile. There's nothing about these that are hostile. Having an extra person, having 3 instead of just 2, doesn't make this any less more hostile. And frankly, you may actually introduce a woman into the situation, which is currently probably going to be absent, and actually have some female guidance on this issue, which is currently going to be lacking in most districts in the state of Idaho. I'd urge your support.
Debate being closed, and just for clarification, we're going to vote on A2 first, which is the one that states the local education association or their representative. Question, debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I call for division.
The chair is not in doubt. Amendment to Section 1 has failed. We'll now have it to consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Point of order, if I may.
Certainly. Senator Davis.
Thank you. I do agree that the ruling of the chair as to the division request for A2 was late. However, is it the position of the chair that the request for the division could also apply, however, to A3 if, in fact, it was properly supported?
Senator Davis, I would have no problem with that if it was properly supported, but only one person did rise with that request.
Mr. Chairman, I call for division.
Division's been called for. And we'll now have the vote for A3. The question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye or stand. Okay, be seated. Opposed? Please rise. The ayes have it, and amendment to Section 1 is defeated.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification. You had just stated that the ayes had it on the vote on A3, and I wanted to clarify if that was true or if the nays had it on A3.
I certainly thought I said the nays, but if I did not, okay. Clarification then, the nays do have it. I did announce that the motion had failed. We'll now have our consideration continuing. Senate Bill 1133. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. There being no objection, amendment to Section 2 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Hagedorn, seconded by Senator Getty, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Hagedorn is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Senate Bill 1133, we met with the Department of Education and the school boards, and we have made a couple of minor changes. We've set up that the beginning of the security plan should be in the school year of 2014 through 2015. We have added a board of trustees designee, like we have the sheriff also has the ability to have a designee, and the board of trustees can select who that might be. We have also removed the word safety in a number of places because where we had safety and security plans, we have safety plans for playground equipment and other such things that we didn't want to trouble the school boards or the local administration with having to report such things in the same way that they're going to need to report the security plans. And we have also added violence prevention efforts, so the schools can also include things like changing school violence and addressing bullying and those types of things also for a security plan. And with that, Mr. Chairman, these are minor modifications friendly to all parties involved in putting this together, and I would appreciate your vote. Debate is open.
Is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Hagedorn is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 2 is adopted. We'll have under consideration amendment to Section 3. There will be no objection. It will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Hagedorn, seconded by Senator Getty, that the amendment to Section 3 be adopted.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment to Section 3 basically, again, removes safety and also includes threat assessment results. This particular section of the bill has to do with security and Freedom of Information Act requests. One of the things we wanted to ensure was the threat assessment results for every school was not available to the public, so a bad guy can't pick out any particular school that might be weaker than another. The task force will be putting together overall grading system for all of the schools, but will ensure that the vulnerability of any such schools that has some work to do is not pointed out directly to the public. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Hagedorn is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 3 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 3 is adopted. Being no objection, correction title be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Hagedorn, seconded by Senator Getty, that the correction to title be adopted.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Correction title is adopted. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when a committee rise, it reported has had under consideration Senate Bill 1133, returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Committee of the Whole will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1138. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 3 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator McKenzie, seconded by Senator Rice, that the amendment to Section 3 be adopted.
Senator McKenzie is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank our Secretary, too. We got this amendment in very late, but I appreciate the consideration. This is an amendment to a bill that the first lines there just make non-substantive changes to languages. We wanted to use the word relevant instead of specific at one point, and then I think the word express was expressed, and I think it's express approval is what we intended there. The second section that you see there is a little more substantive, and it deals with appeals from basically a zoning board denial or grant of a use. To exhaust your administrative remedies, you need to move for reconsideration, and they had 60 days in order to act on that. But we wanted to clarify that if those 60 days goes by and there's no decision, that your right to appeal to the court starts then. You don't have to wait, and they can't forestall you from going to court by just not doing a decision. So your time to run begins either when you get a decision or after that 60 days expires and they don't act on it. And then from that point, you have 28 days to do an appeal, and that appeal can include anything from the final decision and wouldn't be limited to what's in the request for consideration, but all the issues that you had presented could be considered by the court. With that, Mr. President, debate's open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator McKenzie is recognized to close debate.
Great. Thank you. Debate's closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 3 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 3 is adopted. Being no objection, correction title be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator McKenzie, seconded by Senator Rice, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Correction title is adopted. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise, a report is had under consideration Senate Bill 1138, returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Committee of the Whole will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1106. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. There being no objection, the amendment to Section 2 will be considered read.
Moved by Senator Thane, seconded by Senator Nonini, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this amendment is a result of is a discussion between the Director of Department of Human Resources and Director of the Department of Administration, and they felt like this was an appropriate change. Debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator Thane is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 1 is adopted. Being no objection, correction title be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Thane, seconded by Senator Nonini, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Correction title is adopted. We now have under consideration Senate Bill 1106, amendment to the bill. Being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. No objection, amendment to the bill will be considered read.
Moved by Senator Thane, seconded by Senator Nonini, that the amendment to the bill be adopted.
Senator Thane is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the same debate in discussion with the Department of Human Resources, the Director and the Director of Administration. They felt like this was a change that should have been made, and so we did so. Debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Thane is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to the bill be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to the bill is adopted. Being no objection, the correction of title be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Thane, seconded by Senator Nonini, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Senator Fulcher. Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise that a report it has had under consideration Senate Bill 1106 and return same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll now have consideration House Bill 142. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Lodge, seconded by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Lodge, recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good Senators, this amendment recognizes and clarifies that community health centers employ dentists, and that's part of their mission that they have to do, but that these dentists are employees and they are not owners of the facilities. And with that explanation, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Lodge, recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 1 is adopted. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise the report it has had under consideration House Bill 142 return same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee rise and report.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Committee of the whole Senate is dissolved.
Senate will come to order. Prior to going to East, Senate was in the 14th order of business. Senate's at the 14th order of business. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we, your committee of the whole Senate, beg leave to report that we've had under consideration Senate Bill 1114, 1133, 1138, 1106, House Bill 142, and returned same as amended without recommendation. We further report that we've had under consideration Senate Bill 1118, report progress, beg leave to sit again. Mr. President, I move adoption of the committee report.
Senator Buckner-Webb.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded that the Senate adopt the committee report. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. The report has been adopted. Senate bills 1114, 1133, 1138, and 1106 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for engrossing. The amendments thereto will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing. House Bill 142 will be filed for first reading as amended, and amendments thereto will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing. The following measure will hold its place on the 14th order of business. Senate Bill 1118.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent. Senate return to the 13th order of business.
Without objection, Senate return to the 13th order of business. Third reading of bill. Senate's at the 13th order of business. Has for final consideration Senate Bill 1142. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1142 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired for fiscal year 2014.
Mr. President.
Senator Vick.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1142 be dispensed with, and the journal show it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Vick is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators. This bill is about the Blind and Visually Impaired Commission, and I'm going to just give you a brief description of what they do and then tell you what their budget is for the year. The Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired assists blind and visually impaired individuals to achieve social and economic independence. The Commission is organized within the Office of the Governor and has oversight from a 5-member panel that serve 3-year terms. The Blind Commission oversees the Business Enterprise Program, which allows the blind individuals the opportunity to become food service and vending operators, administers the Federal Vocational Rehabilitation Program for the blind and visually impaired persons, and assists the blind and visually impaired individuals achieve independence through training and education. The bill that you have before you is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. The appropriation is for $4,507,600, which includes $1,282,800 from the general fund. This budget includes adjustments for employee benefit costs and statewide cost allocation, and one line item for $100,000 that is money donated from a former client for the older individuals who are blind and sight restoration programs. This $100,000 will be used to help cover the costs of a vision specialist to travel the state and provide services to clients around the state. With that, debate is open.
Being open for further debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Vick is recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1142 pass the Senate? The Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Fulcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Lakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Vick. Work. Winder. Davis. Schmidt.
Roll call shows 33 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent, excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1142 passed the Senate of the correction title. Hearing none, titles approved. Senate Bill 1142 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now is for final consideration. Senate Bill 1080. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1080 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to county officers to revise provisions relating to an action against county officials.
Mr. President.
Senator Rice.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1080 be dispensed with and the journal show that it has been read the third time at length, section by section, and placed before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator Rice is recognized to open debate.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, this bill addresses a conflict of interest that currently all of our prosecutors have in the various counties. They represent our county elected officials in their official capacity. They also have the responsibility of investigating and handling all allegations of violation of state law by those same county elected officials in their official capacity. What this bill does is it reassigns that to the Attorney General's office and provides for an initial investigation at the Attorney General's office so that we can divide up the ones that don't have merit, don't need anything, from the ones that might need further investigation or further action. One of the things that this does have a fiscal impact. The fiscal impact is $212,600 to the general fund because we're adding 1 deputy attorney general and 1 investigator. The reason for this is that we don't want to have a situation of billing the counties.
I apologize, Mr. President, for interrupting opening debate, but there's noise in the gallery that makes it very difficult for us to hear. I wonder if the chairman or the president could help us in that regard.
I think they got the message, Senator. Senator Rice, can you continue, and we'll ask our friends in the gallery to refrain from being too vocal so we can hear the debate.
Thank you. We didn't want the counties being billed back. With the preliminary investigation, if the Attorney General has the resources to handle any further action that needs to be taken, then he will do that. If not, we'll refer it back. He'll be able to have the option of referring it back for a mandatory conflicts counsel, which would then go generally the way most prosecutors have been doing it, has been arranging with another county to trade those back and forth. The reason this is necessary is that as by far the majority of our prosecutors are ethical and they refer these things, they conflict them out, but on occasion they don't. When we have someone that's not behaving appropriately, we have had a recent experience with that in my county with a prosecutor that pulled some shenanigans who's no longer there. But it has been at a substantial cost to the county as a result of the fact that nothing could be done. And I would point out that these preliminary investigations would be confidential. I've been assured by the Attorney General's office that they fall under Idaho Code Section 9-335, and with that, debate is open.
For the debate, Senator Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate in favor of the bill. Senators, this is simply an effort to avoid the attorney-client conflict that exists naturally in the way the system is set up now. It's not a knock in any way on our good prosecutors, on our good county elected officials. The prosecuting attorney and their deputies simply have to act as an attorney for the county elected officials. It's the attorney and the elected officials are their client. They have a conflict in making any kind of decision related to a complaint about the county elected officials, so they have to conflict that case out and send it to somebody else. But they have that same conflict in making the determination on who to send that case to. This simply makes the Attorney General a central gatekeeper that is an individual that does not have that conflict, either in investigating the case or in deciding where to send it. And they can send it to another county to handle that investigation. It just simply takes the conflict that exists out of the picture. With that, I would ask for your support, Senators.
For the debate, Senator Vick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the senator from 10 yield to a question?
Senator Rice, would you yield to an inquiry?
I would yield.
Senator Vick for the inquiry.
Mr. President, Senator from 10, you mentioned in your opening that you decided not to bill the counties for this service, and I was just, since I was not part of those discussions, if you could elaborate to me why that was.
Senator Rice.
Mr. President, Senator from 2, the reason for that is that you wind up with a problem when you do that. The counties have no ability to then budget for that. It could run up on them without them being able to have any handle on it. By doing it this way, we put a handle on it at the state level at the $212,600 while keeping the counties in a position that they can actually plan their budgets and don't have things that end up blowing up their budgets.
Senator Vick.
Mr. President, follow-up question.
Senator Rice, would you yield?
I would yield.
Senator Vick for the inquiry.
Thank you. Good Senator from 10. Don't they have this in their budget now? I mean,
Senator Rice.
Mr. President, Senator from 2, right now what's usually done is they trade these with other counties and pay expenses. They usually are not paying above some actual costs. They're not paying the whole cost. because they're trading back and forth between the counties. And I've been informed that they would continue to do that on the ones that were referred back. But those go back with a mandatory assignment to some other county rather than making a decision on whether they should or not.
Thank you.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator Rice is recognized to close debate.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, debate is closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1080 pass the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Bear. Bayer. Bach. Brackett. Buckner-Webb. Cameron. Davis. Durst. Bolcher. Getty. Guthrie. Hagedorn. Hyder. Hill. Johnson. Keogh. Lacey. Blakey. Lodge. Martin. McKenzie. Mortimer. Nonini. Nuxel. Patrick. Pierce. Rice. Schmidt. Sidaway. Stennett. Thane. Tippett. Fick. Work. Winder. Cameron. Davis. Durst.
Senator Durst.
Getty. Johnson. Mortimer. Nonini. Schmidt. Fick.
Roll call shows 34 ayes, 1 no nays, 1 absent excused. Majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1080 is passed the Senate. The correction title, hearing none. Title is approved. Senate Bill 1080 will be transmitted to the House. Senate now has for final consideration Senate Bill 1108. Secretary will read the bill.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1108 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to initiative and referendum elections, to revise provisions relating to the form of certain petitions, to revise provisions
Mr. President.
Senator McKenzie.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that we dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1108, but our journal show we did read it third time at length, section by section, and that it's now before the Senate for final consideration.
Hearing no objection, Senator McKenzie is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is an interesting issue for your consideration. This relates to signature gathering for initiatives and referendums. Currently, in Idaho law, there's no geographic requirement for gathering signatures for initiatives or referendums. As long as you get 6% of basically the registered voters from the last general election, it gets on the ballot. This is an interesting issue in the states that have initiative and referendums do this in different ways. At one extreme, you've got California, which doesn't have a geographic requirement. Idaho doesn't either, and they've had problems come up. I think there's 100 years since they've had initiatives in that state, and the problems that they've seen mostly deal with how the process has changed. On one hand, it tends to paralyze how their government can function, and then the other hand, it tends to be driven by individuals with a lot of money. In California, I think between 2000 and 2006, they spent about $1.2 billion. In the last election, 4 of the 11 initiatives were all funded by individual billionaires. We haven't seen that in Idaho. Hopefully we don't. But it raised an issue in my mind as to how states do this and what restrictions are appropriate or what requirements you'd want to put on to have initiative come on the ballot. I've passed out a chart from the NCSL that just shows the different requirements in different states that have initiatives. 24 states do. 12 of those have some kind of geographic requirement. I think 2 require signatures in counties. A couple of them do it by legislative districts. One state says no more than 25% from a single county. Others do it by the congressional district. A couple do it that way. And so a lot of states do that, and it particularly fits states that are like Idaho in the sense they've got they're a big state, but populations tend to be centered in certain areas, so they've got a large rural population. And the issue is to try to be as inclusive as possible with your communities, to require signatures come from throughout the state so that the communities that are going to be affected by a statewide measure have some input or say into that. And so the bill that you've got before you would require that signatures be gathered from 18 of the legislative districts, just over half of the legislative districts, in order to get something on the ballot. The criticisms I've seen of that are that the question is this constitutional? The state tried to do this by county a few years back. The Ninth Circuit said you can't do it that way, but in dicta, as a suggestion in that opinion, they did say that you could do the same thing by equal political districts. And Mr. President, if I could read from Idaho Coalition United for Bears versus Santa Rosa, it's a Ninth Circuit Court opinion from 2003. The cite's 342 F. 3rd, 1073.
Having specifically identified the source, the senator may read.
So the court said Idaho could achieve the same end through a geographic distribution requirement that does not violate equal protection. For example, by basing any such requirement on existing state legislative districts, end quote. And then, Mr. President, if I could read again from a Ninth Circuit opinion. This is from last year. It's Engel versus Miller. The cite's 673 F. 3rd, 1122.
Having identified the source, senator may read.
It says our own cases, talking about the Ninth Circuit, which is where Idaho is in the Ninth Circuit, said our own cases, in fact, have presumed that geographic distribution requirements are permissible for signature collection so long as they involve districts with equal population. In addition, it appears that courts that have addressed the issue have uniformly upheld geographic distribution requirements for signature collection when they have been based on equal populous districts. And then the court goes on to say that the states have legitimate interest in ensuring a minimum statewide support for initiative as a prerequisite for placement on the ballot. And so it is constitutional. It's been looked at by our Ninth Circuit, and I think they would uphold something that's based on legislative districts, which are all equal population throughout the state. The other issue that's been brought up is that if we do this, when you gather petitions, you have to add legislative district as well as to what county someone's in when you are gathering signatures, and that might be a burdensome requirement. But I would note if you go to the site idahovotes.gov, it's a matter of 10 to 15 seconds to look up what legislative district someone's in, as long as they know where they live. Both what their street address is and what county you can find that. And if they don't have that information, you couldn't use their signature anyway. The other issue that I've seen on this is that there's a perception that this relates to Props 1, 2, and 3, which we just saw in the last election. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't go back in time. Each of those props would have been on the ballot under this requirement. I think they gathered signatures in all. I think they had enough signatures in all but 2 counties. And if you had this in place, it wouldn't have changed that at all. But I think, you know, as you look at the policy, the other issue is that we have it's hard to get enough signatures right now. This doesn't affect the reason for that, which is if you look on that chart I passed out for NCSL, a lot of states require the signatures based on the number of people who actually voted in the last election. We do it based upon the registered voters. So there's if only a small percentage vote, it's harder to get signatures. But that is something that exists in current law. Having a geographic requirement doesn't change that. That's what we've already got. But I do think that we should look at something that is inclusive of communities across the state. Right now we're seeing people gathering signatures for marijuana legalization. Not too long ago we had one that addressed the issue of gambling. The Farm Bureau, which they did a letter of support, is always concerned about animal rights groups. We've seen liquor privatization in a neighboring state that I think had an effect they didn't anticipate. And these are all issues that would affect every community in the state, and there should be some inclusion of them when we go out to gather signatures. And so that's basically what it does. And with that, Mr. President, in consideration of the time, I will open debate.
The debate. Senator Stinnett.
Mr. President, debate against the bill.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good senators. Senate Bill 1108 will not give rural communities more voice in the initiative process. You have two charts that I've passed out to illustrate why. And I'm going to give you two examples. Scenario number one, you have a bill passed by the legislature that's perceived to deeply affect the economy of Ada County, let's say the Boise, Nampa greater area, and its surrounding region. This metropolitan area, as determined by the census, is made up of large parts of districts 8 through 23. That's 16 legislative districts. All of these districts are easily accessible from the Treasure Valley with a high population density of about 52 people per square mile. With 16 districts within the metropolitan area, a movement headquartered in Boise would only need to pass 6% in two non-metropolitan districts in order to achieve this new benchmark that's set by Senate Bill 1108. Looking at registered voters per district, 24,433 signatures must be gathered in the Boise area in order to reach the 6% threshold for each district. With an added 40% to ensure that an initiative does not fail due to disqualified signatures, we reach 31,762 votes, or signatures, leaving the Boise grassroots effort to free seeking the remaining signatures wherever they can find them. Now remember, you would have all 16, and all you'd need to do is find two other non-Ada County or Boise greater area districts to pass one if somebody wished to. In scenario two, a bill passed by the signature is perceived as deeply affecting the economy of, let's say, Bear Lake County and its surrounding areas. Bear Lake County and the counties surrounding all fall within District 32. There are 23,010 registered voters in District 32 as of the last election. Now, under the current election law, these voters could, with enough organization, provide 20 to 25% of required signatures to have their issues heard by the voters in Idaho. The grassroots organization would only have to reach out to 4 to 6 other legislative districts. Under Senate Bill 1108, only 1,596 of District 32's registered voters will even be relevant in the new process, leaving 25,010 residents of District 32 silenced. And under the new rules, the Bear Lake organizers will have to reach out to 17 other legislative districts outside of their area to get compliant for putting an initiative on the ballot. Even assuming that the rural organizers are very effective in the region, and it has momentum in every district in eastern Idaho, receiving the signatures of 30% of registered voters in District 24 through 35, let's say, the measure would fail. The Bear Lake-based movement will find it incredibly difficult for local issues impacting their community to even be heard, even with the incredible levels of low compassion that it might ensue, due to their status as a rural community. Now, sitting here in Boise, it's easy to think of rural communities as a block. But this is not accurate. Each rural community has its own issues and its own voice. Senate Bill 1108 will not help them. Under Senate Bill 1108, the Boise-Napa area can have its local issues heard, but they are the only community that would be heard with this. Protecting rural Idaho means protecting Idaho's initiative process so that voices in Idaho's rural communities are equally counted. Thank you, Mr. President.
Debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator Bach.
Yes, Mr. President. Debate against the bill. Very briefly, let me just make note of one thing. In California, in contrast to Idaho, California has the opportunity for direct amendment of their Constitution, which has created some of their most significant problems, Proposition 13 being one of those. We can't do that in Idaho. So we need to be comparing apples to apples. I have not done a study of any other states to know what is different in those other states, but I can tell you the comparison to California is not apt. Thank you very much. I urge a vote against the bill.
For the debate, Senator Durst.
Mr. President, would the gentleman from 13 yield to a question?
Senator McKenzie, would you yield? Senator Durst for the inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator from 13. A quick question about trying to listen to what the Senator from 16 just made a mention of, kind of leading to a question of problem. Prior to the 3 referendum we had on the ballot in 2012, when was the last time that Idaho had a referendum qualify for the ballot, and what was the outcome?
Senator McKenzie.
I don't know.
Further debate. Hearing no further debate, Senator McKenzie is recognized to close. Senator Work.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, sorry about that. Mr. President, first off, under Joint Rule 18, I would challenge the sufficiency of the fiscal note. Speaking with the Secretary of State, it's obvious that if this passes, it will end up in court. We will end up spending money on it, and the fiscal note doesn't reflect any possibility of that. So I just wanted to lodge that to begin with.
Duly lodged. Senator
Thank you.
Further debate.
Mr. President, this is, and members of the Senate, I've gotten more mail on this than any other issue that we've dealt with, and even the exchange. It's an interesting thing. I've received a ton of mail. I don't know what kind of mail you've received, but the public has a definite perception about what 1108 is about, and it seems from the mail that I've received that the public is a little bit disturbed that we're trying to keep people from speaking directly to their government, petitioning us with referenda or through the initiative process. First, I guess I'd like to start by saying we all know that the initiative process can be fraught with difficulties. Bad things can get on the ballot. It's happened in the past. And interestingly enough, the people of Idaho have in the past, generally speaking, been able to separate the wheat from the chaff and have rejected a lot of initiatives that have gotten onto the ballot. And when initiatives have passed that were particularly problematic, the 1% on property tax stands out. It was before my time, but I know that the legislature dealt with that extensively. And remember, the legislature can always change or repeal those statutes. And in the past, that has been done. Our state has not had damage done to it through the initiative process, and in fact, much good has come out of the initiative process. The sunshine laws, the homeowners exemption, those were initiatives that were initiated by the public because the legislature wouldn't or couldn't act on them. And so I would remind you that the initiative process is something that's very, very valuable. It's the right that we provide to the people to talk directly to us. And we want to make sure that when we approach that process, that we're very careful about the kinds of limitations, restrictions, and the kinds of hurdles that we place in the way of our people, the people that we represent in the state. It is interesting to look at the history, Mr. President. In 1996, just prior to the session that passed the restrictions associated with gathering signatures in counties, we had 3 initiatives on the ballot. I believe, if my memory serves, all 3 of them failed. But suddenly, after that, we had a bill in 97 that ended up going into the courts, was declared unconstitutional. And I would note here that just because something may be constitutional, 1108, for example, doesn't make it good public policy. But in 2012, of course, we had 3 initiatives or 3 referenda on the ballot. And then here we are now in the next year looking at restrictions on adding things to the ballot. History seems to be
in essence, repeating itself. I did want to make note of a good senator from 26. The debate, it's an interesting outcome. I think it's one of those unintended consequences. If you're, the effect of this, because you have to gather so many signatures from so many different places, supposedly, would make it so that grassroots efforts in Idaho would have a very, very difficult time. Grassroots efforts would have a very difficult time collecting different kinds of signatures from different places. And of course, that means that the people that will get initiatives on the ballot will most likely be outside groups that are well funded. And I think that that's what we're trying to head off here, but I think that that's where we'll head. I did want to talk for a moment about the mechanics of collecting signatures. And I'll use the Treasure Valley as an example because the good senator mentioned it previously. Most likely, if you want to be successful in gathering signatures for an initiative under this or in any other scenario, you're going to come to the Treasure Valley because that's where the people are. Well, remember that you're going to have a separate petition for each legislative district. So if you're gathering signatures at the Costco here in Boise or someplace in Nampa, you've got to have petitions for all of those different legislative districts. And as people approach you or you approach people, you have to document for them. You've got to figure out what legislative district they're in. Now, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've gone to a lot of doors in the past, and when I speak to people at their doors, they have no idea what legislative district they're in. It's extremely unusual. So trying to figure out if you're holding 15 petitions that you're trying to figure out what district they're in, sure, there's a computer program out there and you can plug and chug on addresses. But let's face it, if it's raining out there, if you've got 5 people surrounding you who want to sign petitions, it's going to retard your ability to get petitions signed. People know which counties they live in, and that's the current standard, but they sure don't know what legislative districts they're in. And that's going to cause a big problem for any group trying to gather signatures. And I would say that's probably going to be one of the hurdles that a court, if we pass this, will probably be looking at very closely. I'd also point out we still have a 60-day deadline for referenda in our law. So this bill places an additional hurdle out there for collecting signatures, but it doesn't increase the time allowed for collecting signature for referenda. It's 60 days, and that would be extremely difficult to meet under the current conditions. I've alluded to it before, but this is a solution desperately seeking a problem. We don't have a problem with the initiative process in Idaho right now. Again, we've had, I think, I knew the numbers, but I've probably forgotten them, but there's somewhere around 55 initiatives since 1930 or whatever it was when we enacted this. And so we haven't had a flood. We can't amend our Constitution. And in the past, when problematic initiatives have passed, the legislature has done their duty to try and figure out ways either to make them workable or to finally repeal them if they just weren't workable within the framework of our system. And it's important that we understand that the legislature has the ability to repeal or change those laws. And I would also point out that if an initiative does manage to get on the ballot, everyone in the state has a vote. Everybody gets a say. And like I said earlier, the people of Idaho have a funny way of figuring out what's good and what isn't. I remember an initiative in 2006 about regulatory takings that got on the ballot because there was one individual in another state that financed signature gathering. It got on the ballot. It seemed to have a lot of momentum. People figured out pretty quickly that this was going to have a real negative impact in Idaho. It was having a real negative impact in a neighboring state. And that initiative ended up losing with 76% of the vote against it. A real resounding defeat. So I would ask you today to consider a few things as you consider your vote. Is there a problem in the state of Idaho right now? Is there a problem with the initiative process? Do we not have the ability to be able to make corrections if it goes awry? Do the people of the state of Idaho truly want you to pass a bill that will basically get rid of grassroots efforts in favor of well-funded out-of-state efforts? And do they really want you to pass a bill whose most likely consequence is that signature gatherers will concentrate almost exclusively in areas where legislative districts are piled together in order to make a difficult task a little less difficult, and therefore very much eliminate signature gathering in other legislative districts in rural areas around the state? I'll be voting no today, and I'd urge you to do the same. Thank you, Mr. President.
For the debate, Senator Durst.
Mr. President, to debate against the bill.
You have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll be brief. This bill should maybe be called the State Legislature Monopolist Act. And the reason I say that is because this is going to erect barriers to entry for legislative oversight or for legislative making that the state current constitution does not contemplate. While I'm not sure this will be ruled unconstitutional or ruled constitutional, I'm not sure which side the justices will decide. It certainly violates the spirit of the Idaho Constitution, which says that the people should have the last say on issues. Frankly, I guess as a Southwest Idaho legislator, I should be saying thank you. Thank you for putting the power in our hands. Thank you for making Southwest Idaho the kingmaker in all agendas. But I don't see it that way. I see this as a state legislature, as a state responsibility. When I asked the senator from 13 what I thought was a pretty simple question that I really didn't have the answer to, and he wasn't able to answer it, I think it goes to the point that this is not a salient issue in the state of Idaho. We don't have a problem with this. We're not in Washington. We're not in California. We don't have legislation coming every single election cycle trying to change our Constitution. And the success rate of even the few that have managed to get on the ballot has been pretty low. We're making policy, anticipating a problem. Preemptive strikes rarely work. This is going to be another failure in that policy-making process. I'd urge your no vote.
For the debate, Senator Sidaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. To testify in favor of the motion. You know, good senators, the Constitution of this state and the courts of this state have certainly upheld one man, one vote. When the Constitution for this state was written, it was written much like the bicameral Constitution of the United States, where population was laid in one chamber to be represented in one chamber, and a geographic area was to be represented in another chamber. The court struck that down as far as the state is concerned. If that wasn't the case, there would be 44 senators sitting right here in this room right now, one from each county. That keeps that level. The courts have told us we couldn't do that anymore. I realize that. The district that I represented before reapportionment, we would have had 6 guys with the same mentality that I have sitting in this chamber. That swayed things. Those court decisions have made things fall in line with that one man, one vote. And I know as well as anyone in here that Ada County has 9 districts now. If I want to get signatures on a referendum, I'm most likely to go to Ada County. I know that. But this is one small effort to try to get those signature bearers to go out and include some of the rest of us. And when this bill was originally written, it had 22 counties proposed. Much better from my perspective. But because the authors of the bill thought that they may be challenged, and that challenge may not stand up. They reduced that number down to 18 districts. Now, in our last election, we had about 660,000 people vote in this state. 6% of those 660,000 is roughly 37,600 people that would have to get a signature on a petition. If most of us represent around 45,000 people in our district after reapportionment, that means you've got to get somewhere around, what, 2,100 if you divide that out by the 18 districts to get that 37,600 signatures. You know, to me, this isn't, and you just heard the good senator from 17 say that this had something to do with the propositions. To me, that didn't have anything to do with the propositions. To me, if I'm supportive of this issue, it's probably more because I'm involved in animal husbandry, and every year, I've been here 7 years now, and every year that I've been here except the first one, we've been threatened by the animal rights people that they were going to run an initiative. All this does is say, okay, if you're going to do that, you can get 85% of your signatures right here in Ada County. But we're going to ask you to get that other 15% of those signatures someplace else. This includes us. I don't want to be included. I don't want to come in after the stone has been cast and it's been set to exactly what a referendum is going to say. I want to be involved early on. And my involvement may be in support of that referendum or it may be opposed to that referendum. But I want to know that when they come, and they don't have to come to any of the counties that I represent, but they have to come to some of the counties outside of the most populated urban areas to finish that petition. And to me, this is a bill of inclusion. This is a bill that allows rural Idaho to participate in this process from early on until the vote comes. I urge your support. Thank you.
For the debate, Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to point something out very quickly, Ada County does have 9 districts. There are 9 senators in this body that reflect the people's voice of those 9 districts. And there are people from both the majority and minority here from Ada County. So assuming that all of the people in Ada County think in one way is absolutely not correct. We have some very conservative districts and we have some very moderate liberal districts. So the voice of the people is going to be well represented through this particular bill, even in Ada County, where people think that the population is all one way. I think that's a misnomer and would be a mistake to assume by any signature gatherers. Thank you.
For the debate. Hearing no further debate. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, just briefly, I had never gone on Idaho votes before until we had Senate Bill 1108, and I found out that it is in fact not the type of difficult process that you might think. Here's what I had to know. I had to know what county I lived in. I knew that. I had to know my street number, which is 2638, and I knew that. And I needed to know the first 3 letters of the street I live on, which was Bellin Circle. So I put in Bonneville County, 2638, BEL, and I hit enter. And it told me everything I needed to know. Now, it was the first time I did it. I hit the little button on my watch, and I wanted to time myself. Counting, glancing up and glancing down time, it took me 19 seconds to find that out. It was not the challenging and difficult standard that some might suggest. And I do think that the senator from 17's comment about trying to do that in a wind and a rainstorm, that's a fair point. But in my mind, I'm trying to balance a bunch of other things too, not just my iPad. I'm looking at Article 3, Section 1 of Idaho's Constitution, and it speaks about the power of the state shall be vested in the Senate and the House to enact bills. And then there's a paragraph dealing with referendums and another paragraph with an initiatives. And for both of them, it says that, and if I am allowed to read from Idaho's Constitution.
You are allowed to always quote the Constitution.
Thank you. It adds, after both the referendum and the initiative, this phrase, talking about the powers known in the referendum and legal voters shall. It says, quote, under such conditions and in such manner as may be provided by acts of the legislature. And so that's what you're having to wrestle with today, is do you feel like this is an appropriate act of the legislature? And I realize good, decent, rational minds can differ on this subject, and I respect that. And frankly, I have friends on this issue that are going to disagree with me. They have, I know. But before I was, there are 6 quick things I want to just add. One was on the legal history that happened before I arrived. Certainly the decision was made by the Ninth Circuit afterwards, and it does. And I looked. What was the Ninth Circuit telling us? What was that 3-judge panel counseling with us? And as I read the dicta in that decision, it does indicate and suggest that existing state legislative districts can be a factor that you might want to consider. So I crossed the legal barrier off of my list, and then I got to the question of, all right, what was good public policy? Well, we had a prior bill. That prior bill had a different standard that's been alluded to here, and that was 22 districts, not 18. Well, I didn't like it. I'd be less than honest. And although the good senator from 35 suggested that they may have felt more comfortable with a lower standard, one of the reasons that they may have is that I expressed to him I couldn't support it. 22, I thought, was too high of a barrier. It was too close to a 2/3 majority, and I thought that a lesser standard was appropriate. And maybe others in this body felt the same way. And so I encouraged statewide inclusion in the initiative and referendum process that was a little less than that. And so you now have this bill in front of you for your consideration. And of course, you still have the 6% standard, and both statewide and now 6% in 18 legislative districts, so that every signature, no matter where they're gathered, still helps against the statewide 6%. But in addition, we do the very thing in this that the good senator from 35 is trying to encourage, and that is that the good people from Mud Lake and Idaho Falls get to be part of that initiative and referendum process, and we encourage that. So I said, okay, then I want to shift to what are other states doing? And the sponsor of the bill, the senator from 13, provided to me this chart here, and then I was able to look at it and see, well, golly, states that are liberal and moderate and conservative all try to encourage some form of geographic distribution in the referendum and initiative process. So I thought, okay, that's probably a pretty healthy thing to do as well. At least other states have found that value, and Idaho had previously found that value to be true. So the next question I turned to in my own heart was Propositions 1, 2, and 3. Would they have been a barrier? And through the study process, I learned that 32 of the 35 legislative districts in the state of Idaho did actually support Props 1, 2, and 3 on the ballot. 32 of 35, even substantially higher than the 22 that were in the prior bill. So 32 from 18, let's see, that's 14. They were 14 higher than, I hope that's the right math. I'm doing this on the fly. 14 higher than what the standard is proposed here in Senate Bill 1108. So I felt like, okay, that's probably a pretty fair thing for those that are good faith efforts of the people to do it. In fact, if anything, what I learned was that this bill is actually the pattern that those that want to follow behind Props 1, 2, and 3 should follow. If you want to be successful in your initiative process or in your referendum process, Senate Bill 1108 is the pattern that you might want to consider and follow. So finally, then, I had to look at my own heart. In my opinion, for me, was this legislation in any fashion an act of retribution? Because even if it was good public policy, then for me, a no vote was proper. But it wasn't. And so I do support the legislation. I think it's a very healthy standard for our state to have going forward. And in my opinion, it will encourage a positive initiative and referendum process that will include my constituents in Idaho Falls in it. And I thought that I needed to say that more than you needed to hear it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further debate? Hearing no further debate, Senator McKenzie is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I think at this point I'm probably not changing minds, except if I keep going farther into your lunch hour, I could lose some votes. In answer to the senator from 18, I thought during the debate, I was informed that it was a 92 beer baiting law, but it sounded like the senator from 17 referenced something in 1996 after that. Just to say also, comparing us to other states, it's really not apples to any other state. They all have different requirements. There's different elements, even beyond what you see here. But this is just generally reference to what states do, just so you can see that a lot of states do have geographic requirements. They have been upheld in the Ninth Circuit. And according to the court, the panels that have looked at this as recently as last year, courts have uniformly upheld those. So there's not a court. There's no disagreement in the circuits or the courts. Every court has upheld that. So if it's challenged again, I think I would ask our Attorney General to seek Rule 11 sanctions, get their attorney fees, because I don't see a good faith basis to challenge that and where the court is at right now. There's been some argument that this would consolidate where you would go to get your signatures. Currently, we don't have a geographic requirement. This puts one on. This will broaden that. It's not a huge standard. It's 18 districts, but it does require some inclusiveness. And finally, I would just add the yellow sheet. I think I said this was the Farm Bureau. This is the food producers who passed that out, the yellow sheet. I think I had that wrong. With that, Mr. President, appreciate you listening to all this debate, and debate's closed.
Debate being closed. Question is, so Senate Bill 1108 passed the Senate. Secretary will call the roll.
Baer, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson.
Senator Johnson, 60 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good senators, this bill kind of reflects District 6 that I represent well. It's a challenge when 75–80% of the population in my district is within the city limits of Lewiston. It's 75 to 80, somewhere in there. And sometimes they may have a different view on an issue, say, than the more rural parts of the district, yet the rural part of the district wants a voice. And so this is a challenge when I have to vote on issues or try to communicate with the folks back home. So after listening to the debate, I can support this, and I will support this. Thank you.
Senator Johnson will be recorded as voting aye.
Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxel, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Sidaway, Stinnett? Thane? Tippett? Fick? Work?
Mr. President.
60 seconds.
Mr. President, to explain my vote, I represent actually a non-urban district, although it's in Kootenai County. I don't really have any large towns, and I am very sympathetic to the stated goals of the people who have brought this forward and what they're trying to do. Unfortunately, I don't think that this legislation gets us to the point that they would like it to get us to, and I think we can do better, and I will be voting no.
Vic will be recorded as voting no.
Work? Winder? Bayer?
Mr. Bayer, 60 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the good senator from District 13, and I appreciate the intention and the goals of this proposed language. However, a couple of things that I'm concerned about. One is, was mentioned in debate, that reflects Ada County, and we have a couple of the most politically polarized legislative districts in the state. And then in addition to that, this builds on the current appropriation process or reappropriation, and I quite frankly think that that is a process that is flawed, that I don't subscribe to, so I can't in good faith build on to that and how we develop our districts in the first place, so I'll be voting no.
Mr. Bayer will be recorded as voting no.
Hill? There is also a pair vote. Senator Guthrie voting aye, Senator Schmidt voting nay.
Roll call shows 25 ayes, 10 nays, no absent excused, majority haven't voted in the affirmative. Senate Bill 1108 is passed. Senate, the correction title here, none. The title is approved. Senate Bill 1108 will be transmitted to the House. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to send advance to the 15th order of business. Excuse me, I apologize. I withdraw that unanimous consent request. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all bills in the 13th order of business be reordered, placing Senate bills at the top, followed by House bills.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to send advance to the 15th order of business.
Without objection, send advance 15th order of business. Miscellaneous business adjournment. Senate's at the 15th order of business.
Mr. President, senators will soon adjourn until the hour of 10 a.m. tomorrow. Prior to adjournment, I want to give you a chance for introductions and announcements. Also remind you tomorrow afternoon we will be having floor time.
Announcements. Senator Hill.
Mr. President, if we stick around long enough, all of us will have celebrated a birthday during this session. But at this point, we do have one more. August. You're right. I hope not. One more of our colleagues who celebrated a birthday this last week, and that's Senator Fulcher. If you'll congratulate him.
Further announcements. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I move the Senate adjourn until the hour of 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Stinnett.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. The Senate adjourned till 10 a.m. tomorrow. All in favor say aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.